Are you struggling to create strong, unique male characters? I get it. I struggled with this a lot in the beginning of my career. It was really hard for me to write males because obviously I'm not a male. I did really great female characters, or so I thought. When I look back at the very first manuscript I wrote, it was a single woman living with multiple cats, and I spent many pages describing the cats. It's little wonder to me that it didn't sell. Got some tips for you. Each of these I learned at different stages of my career, so if you don't get all of them right away, no big deal. You will absorb what you need to learn when you need to learn it. So just continue to get your education in writing, and everything will start to fit in as you go along. Number 1 is observe men. Don't be a stalker, but you definitely want to watch men in movies, on TV, men that you read about, and the men that are in your life. Author Amelia Alexander works at a job that has a lot of males there, and she calls it the Male Observation Lab, and she uses a lot of that in her romantic comedies. You want to look at how they act, what they choose to do, how they speak about things, how they avoid some conversations and have others. You want to observe how the men around you and the men that you see in movies and TV and in books handle things and take notes about that. And especially if you're not a man, sometimes it can be really difficult to understand how the opposite gender would react or act. And so paying attention and taking notes helps a lot. For your writing exercise, I want you to put 2 different characters into the same situation and see how the points of view differ. Number 1, I want you to put a woman in her 30s maybe walking into a shopping plaza. Then I want you to switch gears and do it from the perspective of the male and see what things he observes and things that he pays attention to that are totally different than what she's watching. And then try a bar setting. A really rowdy bar at 2 a.m. A woman walking in is going to see that situation totally different than a man will.
Drink around here.
Just a couple of paragraphs. It gives you an easy way to step into the shoes of that opposite gender. Secondly, and this was something I finally learned with my first published book, know their job. Men tend to think of things in terms of their job, particularly if they have a job that's like engineer, architect, or carpenter. My husband is an engineer, so he's always all about figuring out how the puzzle pieces stick together. And that's how he approaches problem solving. So if you know their job, use that language when you're in their point of view. I don't mean to do it every single page, but every so often an echo of what they do for a job as a frame of reference that they use is great because it kind of grounds the reader in who this character is. For your writing exercise for this, it's pretty simple. I want you to write 2 paragraphs of your male character at work during the day. What does he do? What does he think about? What problems does he solve? What problems is he confronted with? What kind of people does he talk to? And how does he talk to them? So really get to know him in his workspace. Number 3, and this was a pivotal one for me when I was trying to figure out how to write male characters. You need to have what's called a save the cat moment. There's a whole book called Save the Cat, but the gist of it is that characters need a moment early on in the book where they do something kind or nice or vulnerable so that the reader can love even the most hardened character. That save the cat moment can make somebody that's like a porcupine much more lovable and make the reader kind of latch on and say, yes, I'm going to stay in this story with this person. We just watched the movie Nobody with Bob Odenkirk, and in that, he's sort of a John Wick character. Normally, I don't think I would relate to a character like that, but he has 2 save the cat moments. One when it comes to his daughter's Hello Kitty bracelet, and later when he rescues a kitten. And those 2 things humanize him, make me care about him, and make me want to see how it works out for him and the kitten. You want to have that in the first third of the book so that you have a moment that the reader really starts to fall in love with your male character. Even if you're not writing a love story, the reader needs to love and care about this character. For your writing exercise, I'd like you to list 5 or 6 different save the cat moments you could throw into your book. Because a lot of times we think of the very first obvious one, like, okay, he helps a stranded motorist or he rescues a kitten. And if you want your book to be unique, come up with a more unique one. So dig a little deeper. And when you get that 6th one, go ahead and write a couple of pages about that. Number 4, you should know how men work versus women. Men are problem solvers. They'll listen and then they just want to offer a solution. Women are more the emotional support. They commiserate. Now, granted, these are kind of stereotypes and you don't have to make your character a stereotype. But these are overarching kind of things that are gender related. If your character acts differently than that, if your male character does not offer solutions to problems, or he's not kind of a get in there and fix it kind of guy, you need to know why. You need to know his backstory to understand why he may avoid confrontation or why he may not stand up against the bully. For your writing exercise for this, I want you to write a couple paragraphs about a moment in your male character's history, maybe in their childhood, where they acted the opposite of how they were expected to act. Then tell me why. All about Impact. I talk about that all the time. Why and what was the impact? Number 5, and I think I figured this out a few books in, transform the way that I write male characters. Every character, male, female, needs to have a deep emotional wound. We all have traumas from our pasts. Everybody does. We have a car accident or somebody dying or something even worse that has happened to us. And those kinds of things shape us into the people that we are today. So I want you to know what his deep emotional wound is. What happened when he was younger and how did it impact him? Again, come back to those 2 questions. Why and what was the impact? Because when you know the impact, that tells you how he is going to react in a situation. Let's say that he saw his mother die in front of him. Maybe he's going to never, ever get close to somebody emotionally again. If you look at Prince William and Prince Harry and how they reacted to their mother's death, they had the same trauma as children. The impact on them was different and their reaction to it was different. For your writing exercise, write a couple paragraphs about how that moment impacted him. If you're struggling with this, that's totally normal. That happens to everybody. Just go back to these exercises when you get to know your character a little bit better. The best way to get to know your character is to write about them. Writing will teach you more than not writing. If you want to learn how to create strong female characters, I highly recommend you watch this video. Look in the description for links to the plotting worksheet and the character worksheets. Those can really help you develop those characters the way that you need to.